All right, hey kids, John Castanino, Matt Gutierrez, our camera guy here.
Double duty.
First scrimmage of development camp. This is day 3 of camp for the guys. The white team won 6-4.
Yeah.
Couple late goals given up by, boy, I hate to call the kid out already in his first camp as a Golden Knight.
Saveville.
Seville, yeah, Isaiah Seville. Seville, yeah. Good game. What we saw, Matt, was a lot of speed and I think impressive. Ability. I asked Dylan Ferguson. Of course, you should know that name. Ferguson, goalie, spent some time with a big club, kind of in an emergency situation. But he said that he was really impressed with the speed and he likes the skill that the organization is bringing in. But what'd you take away? Big question.
You know what? You see how much depth there is in this organization. I mean, I know these kids. A lot of them aren't ever going to make it up to the NHL, but you had guys like you mentioned Ferguson and Nick Hague out there. Jack Duggan with a really nice goal. We talked to him about that in the locker room afterwards, and said he's really trying to work on becoming a more complete skater because he feels that his stick work is pretty solid. So you're seeing some talent down here. Cody Glass went out early. They said it was very precautionary, so we didn't get to see much from him today. Any little thing that creeps up, they're going to sit these guys down. They don't want to risk any kind of injury when you're still this far out from the season opening up. And Glass could be one of those guys that comes up to the big club this year. So take the precaution.
Yeah. So Mike Kelly, assistant coach Mike Kelly, he was the one that talked to the media after the game, and I just asked a really broad question. No player in particular. What do you see even from day 1 to day 3, which is what we're on, from the kids in their first camp? And I get that there's a lot that they need to learn here, but I think a lot of it, and this is what Mike Kelly alluded to, is that the kids just need to be comfortable in a pro NHL type setting. I mean, these kids are all babyface, Matt.
Yeah.
We're looking at them. They're 18, 19 years old. They're kids.
Look at some of these birth dates here.
Yeah.
I mean, you're talking about 2000. Some of these, right? We've been out of high school.
2001. There's a 2001 on here.
I
That's the youngest.
Yeah.
No 2002s. Which is, I mean, that's 18 years old, which is nuts. So
the kids, literally. I mean, they're kids that are still trying to figure out how to play this game and what it takes to be a professional and what it takes to skate with this kind of talent level for a full game. And you saw them get out there and really compete. And it wasn't like there were hard checks and guys slamming into boards, but it was a competitive game and it was an entertaining game.
Yeah, I'm just going over some of the names, so maybe you'll remember these, maybe you won't. But here's kind of the names that you should at least keep an ear out for now and in the future. Of course, we mentioned Dylan Ferguson, but I mean, he's kind of locked in his spot as goalie. Not a lot of opportunity there. But Cody Glass, as Matt mentioned, Nick Hague, Jake Lecision scored today. I think this is his third camp as well. Jack Dugan, it is Dugan. Is that Duggan?
Dugan. I've heard them both.
Great. My paisan, Nick Campoli. I don't think that's a name that you necessarily need to pay attention to, but
you're going to listen.
Yeah, I will. And then sorry, I just jumped over him. Who's the second round pick? Oh, Caden Korzak. So I spent a little bit of time with him, and then we'll get to your interview with Jack. So I asked Caden, getting on that plane. This second round pick, this is the guy the Golden Knights made a trade, traded up for to get him. And getting on a plane to come to Vegas for his first ever development camp, what goes into that? And he just kind of smiled and he talked about all the hard work and the dream come true. And that's really what I enjoy about camp the most, is these young kids coming in, realizing their dreams. Granted, they all want to play T-Mobile Arena, which is exactly what Caden said, but just their wide-eyed perspective and the big smiles that they have is something that I'll really, I remember and really take away, and that's what I enjoy about covering these.
Yeah, talking to Jack, I asked him specifically what he was working on, if there was anything that he wanted to come to camp to work on specifically and improve his game, or if the coaches had said, hey, we want you to focus on this. And like I mentioned before, really wants to become more of a complete skater. He's considers himself a little more of a heavy body, kind of a more physical type player out there, and likes the hard checking, likes the hard hitting. So with this type of atmosphere, because these guys don't want to hurt each other, they're just trying to get into it and get some game reps. More wide open, faster style game really gives him the opportunity to work on that skating aspect. And again, beautiful goal there with the stick handling that he possesses. And this is a kid that could make a jump at some point.
If you're interested in the game at all, it was tied 4-4 with like 5 minutes to go, and then there was a couple late goals. I believe it was the white team, and they pulled away and they won. They were up 6-4, and then did it end 6-4? Oh, that's right.
Well,
empty net goal. We're like babbling here.
It was
5-4.
It was
3-3,
3-3,
5-3,
and then you had that real ugly goal that just kind of crept over and beat Seville. And then about 45 seconds later, you had the dagger goal, so to speak, make it 5-4. Gray got a late goal to make it, or excuse me, it's 5-3 at that point. Gray got the late one to make it 5-4. Empty netter put it away with what, a minute to go, minute and a half to go.
There you go. You just got the wrap
There's
up.
your recap.
Mike Kelly also mentioning again about what these kids are here to do. Got to be careful with them because you don't want to wear them out. Not only are they playing, a couple practices a day, but they're also going over game planning and watching film or whatever it is they do personnel wise. I mean, they're trying to get to know the city, and there's a lot that goes into it. So they're really cautious on how much they want to overload these kids. And again, they are kids, 18, 19 years old. So I took that away. And then also getting back to my chat with Dylan Ferguson, the players here, because this is Dylan's third camp, they're all looking up to him. And Sayville, I can't remember if I already mentioned this at the top, but Sayville was asking Ferguson, hey, any pointers you can give me, go ahead and give me them. And it just seems like it's a great culture and a great vibe and a great atmosphere that these kids create.
Well, that's what they want to do. I mean, it's in the name, developmental camp. You want to develop these kids into potential NHL players, and these young guys want to lean on the guys that have been here before, the veterans, quote unquote veterans. I mean, some of them have some NHL experience, like Ferguson does, but you want to lean on those guys and really get yourself to a level where you're going to make the big club.
Yeah, biggest takeaway, I guess, for me is that these kids are fast. I mean, they were moving the puck well. I really enjoyed just the hockey. I may not know all the names on this roster here. I kind of threw a lot of them at you guys, but I think that we're in store again. And we haven't even talked about Eric Halla. I wanted to talk about that. Clearly, Eric Halla no longer on the roster. Big trade. He goes to Carolina, and a kid named Waugh comes back. There was a Waugh on the ice, but it wasn't the one in the trade. But just Eric Halla's departure. I mean, clearly second leading goal scorer 2 seasons ago. He's a presence, and he's going to be a presence that's missed.
Well, he will be, but it was a necessary move. They had to clear. They had to. It's not just a cap move, even though cap room has a lot to do with it. They have too many wingers, and they're not gonna. They had Halla play center in his first season here with the Golden Knights. They're not going to do it again. They have, I think, better centers there. You had to move that guy. I mean, Nikita Gusev needs to be signed. They need to lock him up. Again, we talked about Cody Glass potentially coming up. Is Belmar going to be re-signed? Is Eakin going to be here next season? Is he going to be a trade piece? Colin Miller, we hear his name being floated around as a potential trade piece. So, it's going to happen. Fans get upset about it because they love these players and they get attached to these players. But at no point were you ever going to have, the original Golden Knights roster sit around for 25 seasons. That's not the way of professional sports. It's a business, and these guys have to move, and they have to make this roster as good as possible because they want to win a Stanley Cup.
Read in Jesse Granger's story in The Athletic about the trade. Halla's getting married on Saturday here in Vegas. So, I mean, he, all his teammates, I'm sure, are going to be there. So that's I guess a swan song for him.
Yeah.
So it's sad, part of the business, and there's going to be a couple more moves coming. So you're thinking Colin Miller. I really don't have. I think it's going to be two more guys that may have to get moved here.
It could be, but I think they have to get a defenseman out. I think again, you're talking about numbers, log jams, things like that. You have to make room, and you have to get under the cap. So I think his name is one of the big ones out there. But I mean, you never know. I didn't think Halla was going to be the guy, even though looking back at it, we probably should have known better. But you never know who it's going to be. But it is going to be one or two players, like you mentioned. This roster is going to change. Just know that it's changed for the better. They're trying to get better. They're trying to make this roster as good as possible because what's the ultimate goal? To win the cup. They were so close 2 seasons ago. Probably a really bad call this season from making another cup run. Year 3, they got to get it done.
All right. He's Matt. I'm John. We're at development camp. It's great to see some hockey. Stay tuned. We'll post our interviews. He'll get Jack's up. I'll get Dylan's up. It's good content from the guys. So signing off. We'll see you next time.